Hi there, Scott Spiker from More Realty in Vancouver. This is another video in the series on real estate finance. In this video, we will cover a few options and considerations for those that are either thinking about investing in real estate or those who already do invest in real estate. If you have any questions about the financial side of real estate investing, stick around for Real Estate Investing Part 1. Hi, I'm Scott Spiker with Cascade Living, and today we have a guest from Director's Mortgage, and I'll let Austin introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Hi, my name's Austin Irwin. I have been in the business for 7+ years, and I work with a team with over 4 decades of experience, and we're a family-based team. So yeah, I work with my mother and father. And we are avid about helping clients achieve their real estate goals through mortgage lending. And I think we're going to cover investing in real estate, right?
Yeah, part 1, exactly. So let's get right to it. There are a lot of options for would-be investors. There's, coins, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, real estate, all kinds of different things. So is real estate, in your mind, is real estate a good investment? Is there a hedge against inflation there? And why would real estate be a good investment for folks?
Yeah, great question. I mean, there are a lot of different investment vehicles that consumers can tap into. But I love real estate because with real estate, you're buying something that's real and tangible. You can drive by it. You can show it to your family, your friends. There's some pride that comes with it. And you're right, it is a good hedge against inflation because, like we've been talking about, home appreciation, at least until 2027, is forecasted 5% nationwide. Now, in the Portland Metro, it's probably a lot higher. I mean, you got to think it's going to be higher because we're a very desirable state, one of the most affordable states on the West Coast, so that home appreciation is probably around 8%, 9%. But that being said, it's a great hedge against inflation because as a real estate investor, your property is going to appreciate at that rate we're discussing. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 9%, but you're getting appreciation. You're also, as a real estate investor, getting tax write-offs. So you're able to write off the deductibles or the expenses come with real estate, In addition, you get, what I love is cash flow. You're gonna be collecting rent from a client, and after that they make that mortgage payment and they pay the mortgage, whatever's left over, that's cash flow in your hand. And that renter is paying down your principal. So over 30 years, you could own a property outright, and year after year, that rent's also gonna continue to go, increasing that cash flow. So there's so many great benefits of owning real estate, especially being a real estate investor.
Nice, yeah. And then as far as loans and different sort of options for folks, does it matter whether it's like a short-term rental, let's say like an Airbnb or a VRBO, right, versus like a long-term investment, which would be like a monthly or somebody that's leased in for 6 months or a year? Is there any difference if you're utilizing that property for one of those two different segments of investment strategy in getting financing for those?
Yeah, there definitely is, and I'm glad you brought this up because if you're doing it as a long-term rental, so you're going to have a tenant in there for a year or longer, it's going to be looked at different from the underwriter, more favorable actually. Because when you buy an investment property, and a lot of clients don't know this, but when you buy an investment property, the lender, most lenders, can use 75% of what the current lease is installed, or what fair market rent is. So let's just say, for conversation's sake, the rent's $2,000. Using 75% of that, now that's $1,500. That can offset that mortgage payment for qualifying.
Right.
If the property that they're looking to buy, they want to use it for a short-term rental, well, we're not going to be able to use short-term rental lease agreements or what they could make off of short-term rental equations because we don't know what that number is.
Right.
So that being said, they would have to carry the full payment. And so that's why we always look at saying, let's look at it as a long-term rental, and because you're going to be able to qualify that way, and it might be a better investment. But at the end of the day, it's up to the client what they want to do when they close and they close on that property.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. And then typically, is that different with your down payment on an investment versus like residential? or is it similar?
Yeah, so when you're buying an investment property, the minimum down on a conventional loan is 15%.
Okay.
But you're going to carry mortgage insurance, and that's not going to be pretty, and the interest rate is also not going to look too good. So really, you want to do 20% down as an investor, but the sweet spot is 25% because you're going to get a reduction in the interest rate and the fee associated with that rate. So if an investor has it, 25 is great, but 20% a great way to get started. Also, let's just say that you currently own a home and you want a house hack that I'm seeing a lot of millennials do. Well, you rent out the departing residence and then you go buy the new home with a conventional loan, 5% down, up to a $647,200 loan limit, $647,200. And this is what a lot of house hackers do, where they basically rent out their departing residence, they go buy a new residence with low money down, 5%, get some capital in there with some sweat equity or something like that, stay in the home for a year, do the same thing, and they just leapfrog property to property.
Okay, interesting. Okay, the other version of that I've seen too is where, and this is where it gets kind of a little bit of a gray area, but where somebody will go in and they'll buy either like a triplex or a quad, and then they'll live in one of the units and rent out the other three. How does that work? I mean, folks can do that, right? And in certain situations, you have, like, I think there's a limit to the number of units you can have there and still qualify for like what would be sort of a traditional residential mortgage, right?
Yeah, so traditional financing allows you to go to a 1 to 4 unit. Anything beyond that is going to be commercial financing. Okay. So if you're a buyer, and let's say you're going to own or occupy, and you say, I really want to be able to house hack, well, a great way to do that is using an FHA loan. And you can buy a property with an FHA loan with 3.5% down for 3 to 4 units.
Okay.
Now, if you buy a duplex, you don't have to worry about what we call property performing, where as long as you qualify for the duplex, we're good to go. But when you go to a 3 to 4 unit, that property has to qualify or at least produce and be able to meet the mortgage payment that's currently there, which is very difficult in the Pacific Northwest. So typically, clients that are buying 3 to 4 units have a very hard time using an FHA loan because the rents don't qualify or don't cover the mortgage payment. Because remember, we have to discount those rents and use only 75%. So great way to house hack. You can also do that on a VA loan.
Okay.
With zero money down.
Nice. And then as far as like the nitty gritty of the transaction, closing time frames really similar on investment properties?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 30 days on an investment property or less, depending on how quick the client wants to move.
And then closing costs, does that vary?
3% usually.
Okay, all right, nice. And then for those that are interested in extending terms, is that a possibility once you're into a situation where you've got a loan on an investment?
Well, I think when you say extending terms like refinancing and pulling cash out or lowering the rate and putting it on a new 30-year term.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I see a lot of my investor clients, they close on a property and then 5 years goes by, they build up a good amount of equity and then they look to do a cash out refinance.
Right.
And pull that equity and go buy a new property. And so we can always look to refinance an investment property as long as it makes sense. And we'll pencil the numbers for the clients.
Sure, nice, okay. And then also the payoff early question. So is that something as an investor, let's say you come across an additional capital from somewhere and you're looking at paying down your investment, is that pretty much the same as it would be on a residential property, or how does that differ?
Yeah, just for traditional financing, yes, there's no prepayment penalty on an investment property, but if you go into that non-QM world, non-qualified mortgage, most likely there will be a prepayment penalty.
Okay, perfect. That sounds pretty good. I think we covered most of what we need to in investing real estate part 1. So thank you, Austin, again. And folks, look for our next episode, which will be investing part 2, and we'll see you then.